time for our game picks. It's the national championship game. It's Doug Lesmerises, Nathan Baird, and Steven Means on your YouTube channel at cleveland.com. Ohio State, an 8-point underdog against the Alabama Crimson Tide. Steven Means, you lead it off. You're the only one of us who picked Ohio State to beat Clemson. What are you picking now?
And I'm going to stick with it. Ohio State's going to win the national championship, and they're going to win 55-50. I think this is going to be a shootout. I think Ohio State's going to put up a bunch of points. I think Alabama is going to put up a bunch of points. And usually in shootouts, all it takes is one stop. All it takes is one turnover or 1 3-and-out situation, and that's maybe where you win the game and where you can point to. And I think at some point, whatever Ohio State's doing defensively might pay off, and it might rattle Mac Jones more than maybe any other team has been able to rattle him this year. He sits comfortably in that pocket. That's because he's got the best offensive line in the country blocking for him, and he's got a bunch of receivers to where he can get it out to him quickly, and then they can do all the work for him. I think this is the game where they get a little bit of pressure. Maybe it rattles him, and maybe it's Josh Proctor. Maybe this time he actually does hold on to the football when he has a chance to get an interception. But I just think at some point in the game, Ohio State's going to cause a turnover that's going to cause all the momentum to go into their favor. And when we look back on why they won this game by 5 points, that exact play is going to be why.
All right, shootout. Ohio State wins a close one. Nathan Baird, where are you?
I think it's going to be pretty much a shootout too. I have been hearing just around the country this week, it still seems to be some David versus Goliath comparisons here almost, even considering what Ohio State did last week. And part of that might be because people think Justin Fields just got his inside squished by Clemson, and some people know that there are some deficiencies potentially because of COVID for Ohio State's defense. I see this more Goliath against Goliath A versus Goliath B, but we have to be realistic about the fact that Goliath B might be a little bit compromised right now, whether that is potential players missing off of this defense, whether that is Justin Fields not being at 100%. I know what he did against Clemson in the second half. I saw it with my own eyes. It was incredible. But again, this is another step up in terms of opponent. And at the end of the day, I went back and forth on this a lot. At the end of the day, I picked Ohio State to cover what is an 8-point spread right now, but ultimately for Alabama to win 47-44.
High scoring, close. Alabama wins. I'm not making a pick in the 2014 national championship game when Ohio State beat Oregon. I didn't make a pick that year. I picked Ohio State to lose to Wisconsin and to lose to Alabama, so I wasn't going to then come back and pick them to win the national title, even though I think if you would have said, well, what are you really going to pick? That's probably where I would have leaned. I think the toughest part of this and of the analysis of this game is the health, as Nathan said. And most of the health stuff, it's like the health question for Alabama is trending up because the health question is how much will Jalen Waddle play? The health questions for Ohio State are all trending down because it's how many guys might be missing because of COVID and how as much is Justin Fields affected, if at all. Maybe it's none, but there's not a question. It's not like the question, Justin Fields took a helmet to the ribs. Is it possible that he inherited magic powers as a result of that? And he'll even be, no, it's nothing. It's either he'll be as good as usual or a little worse because he's hurt. Alabama is like, hey, you'll either be the same you've been for the last 6 weeks, or you'll get back the guy who was your best receiver. So I think it trends in a tough way for Ohio State, but my analysis is all about health and availability. Football, toss-up. Football is a toss-up.
Can we completely rule out a Henry Rowan-Gardner Rookie of the Year scenario, just considering how well Justin Fields played after he came back in last week?
Is that the kid who broke his arm and then threw like 200-mile-per-hour fastballs?
Yeah.
Why did Justin Fields not get asked about that on interviews this week?
We dropped the ball.
I mean, to be fair, the 2 times in his career he's had to leave the game with an injury and he had a chance to come back in, he threw a touchdown pass the moment he came back in the game. So I don't know, maybe that's the magic formula. Hey, Justin, leave the game, go to the tent, and just hang out. 1 snap, let CJ Stroud head it off to Trey Sermon, and then come back in, and Garrett Wilson will be open in the end zone, or Chris Olave will be open in the end zone, and we'll take the lead.
I think I've been swayed. I think I've come around to the idea that the best thing for Ohio State is something minor and momentary to happen to Justin Fields, and then let him come back because with the cape on. It's tough. So I'm not making a pick. These guys are. We're split. I'm not breaking the tie. I think we all agree it could go either way. I think we all agree it'll be high scoring. I think we all agree it'll be a really good game. And I think we all agree if your pregame analysis is Ohio State doesn't have a chance, that feels wrong. That's the only part of this that feels like absolutely wrong is if you're dismissing Ohio State. Read our stories at cleveland.com/OSU. Make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. For Nathan and Steven, I'm Doug.